Yeah. Are you filming there, yeah?
We are filming, yeah.
Oh, this is probably one of the most expensive shirts that you'll ever get.
I paid $25,000 for this shirt.
And it's a cotton deluxe.
Yeah.
Would you pay 25 grand for a cotton deluxe?
Scientology, is it a religion or a cult? Led by the poised David Miscavige, its ex-members have something to say about it.
This is an insidious, dangerous group of people.
I just hope that one day that they wake up and realise that they're being conned.
I've always been fascinated by what could be seen as bizarre things people believe in. I'm here to listen to those affected by Scientology, and it's all a lot closer than you think.
You're saying I'm in danger now? I'm in danger now, okay.
Are you doing a documentary about the Church of Scientology?
I am doing a
You're
documentary,
shit.
yes.
I'm with Martin to talk about his Scientology experience that lasted 31 years.
We're in County Mall. Welcome to Crawley. This is County Mall. It's the run up to Christmas, as you can see, all the lovely Christmas lights. This is my home, my adopted hometown. But hey, look, yeah, it's quite nice. This is what it's all about for me. It's like the kids, isn't it? You know, so I might, you know. Goodness me, Enid Blyton books. So in 2017, still at the, you know, at the top of the book pile, kids' books pile. I mean, Christmas is all about the kids. You know, we'll be doing the usual, the traditional stuff, the tree and all the turkey and all that stuff. Yeah.
So basically, how did you get into Scientology in the first place?
Personally, there was a chap who was decorating my parents' house where we were living at the time. This was in Hinchley Wood, near Kingston, and he just interested me. He had a certain, he was quite charismatic, and he had a certain sort of persona which I found quite interesting. So I asked him. He didn't have to sell it to me. I said, what do you do that I don't do? What do you know that I don't know? Yeah. And he said, Scientology. I said, well, what's that?
It appears to be a religion that helps you understand yourself and others around you through spiritual and practical methods. Doesn't seem too bad.
How do you feel about people who are sort of in Scientology now? Do you feel any sort of burden at all, any sort of like...
I feel sorry for them in a sense. I mean, I was where they were, and, you know, they don't know they're in a cult. When you're in Scientology, you don't think, I'm in a cult. You think, you genuinely believe that you're in a group that's out there saving the world. As ridiculous as that may sound now, that's what you believe. So, as far as the people who are still in, I just hope that one day that they wake up and realise that they're being conned, for want of a better word, really.
I'm now on my way to East Grinstead to meet up with a protest group of some ex-Scientologists.
I'm sorry. Do you know how to work that camera? Yeah. You sure? You look a bit young to me. My name is Bill Drummond. I've been involved in Scientology for 65 years. And I will not stand and let this continue here in East Grinstead. Scientology must be stopped.
You've gone through a lot of crime. You've gone through child labour, you've gone through forced abortion, you've gone through
disconnection.
All these crimes, disconnection, you've gone through all these crimes. Like, if they've done all these things, then why are they still operating?
Well, now this is a very good question. When you've got billions of dollars and really got a lot of lawyers, top-class lawyers behind you, you can defend yourself against people like me. What they're going to do is go, who are those guys with the camera? And then they're going to find out who you are and find out where your families are and look into you and start spreading rumors and stories about
So you're saying I'm in danger now? I'm in danger now, okay.
Are you doing a documentary about the Church of Scientology?
I am doing
You're
a documentary, yes.
Oh yeah. Like you'll bury yourself under a rock.
Do you think that these people with these cameras are walking around here for fun? Why do you think they're walking around here gathering information? If you had 10 million or 5 billion, dollars, and somebody came along and they were a threat to that income, what would you do? And how far would you go to protect $1 billion?
Well, me personally, I wouldn't kill people, you know.
Okay, fine. How far do you think a cult like this would go? Do you think that they would research into you? Do you think they would get private detectives to follow you? I think if you actually stand here and try and tell me that the Church of Scientology would not come after you to protect its billions, then you're naive. We're going to the Church of Scientology at St.Hill Manor, which is the founder's home, where John Travolta and Tom Cruise and Devin Miscavige, who is now the leader of the church, are going to be waiting for us to appear with their 120 security guards and Alsatian dogs and barbed wire fences.
Yeah, like what does this shirt like mean? Like,
I'll tell you what it means in a minute. But for you, you seem like a nice guy. Yours for 20,000.
for 20,000.
Yeah. I'll give you a 5,000 discount.
20,000, 20,000, 20,000, 20,000, 20,000.
This belonged to me. Basically, what this is, a sponsor for Total Freedom, is they solicit donations for, supposedly, for their humanitarian works and endeavours.
We know different.
Yeah, in reality. But that's what you think that, you know...
I mean, it's what we believe.
That's what we believe.
I mean, we would have given our soul for that. Well, we did. We sold our soul for that. I mean, it's not just money. You give your time. You give you sacrifice.
You give everything. Scientology takes everything.
You sacrifice your time,
your
with your family,
your money, your family.
everything.
As it's intended to work, to get everything out of you.
Oh, yeah. But I'll tell you what I give them now.
I've still got your seal.
What I wouldn't give them now. I wouldn't give them the heat off my piss. Can't say that. I wouldn't give them the hit off my piss. This is not a religion. Religions don't do that. You know, this is not the Romans and the Christians. This is not the days of the crucifixions, for Christ's sake. It's the 21st century. We don't burn witches at the stake anymore. We're supposed to have moved on in this world from that type of religious bigotry and hatred. But they're playing that game. They're playing that game.
Martin offered us a lift to the main protest and suggested that we might try and see the event for ourselves.
I'll just see if I can go in the front gate. Oops. I can't predict what's going to happen. Are you filming?
Yeah, I am.
Good.
Good. Okay. Are people coming already? Guy in the black shirt. Put it down. We're just here, we're making a documentary.
Yeah, you're off the premises, please.
Off the premises.
Off premises.
She wants to leave. Okay. They're taking a picture. He is taking pictures of us, yes. Yeah. He is taking pictures.
Yeah. He's wearing a SEAL shirt.
He's wearing a SEAL, okay.
Yeah, he's a SEAL member.
So he's a part of the site, he's not just hired.
No, he's SEAL. The SEAL is those people who, like myself, sign billionaire contracts and work in a sort of communal, almost like a monastic type existence. All the higher echelons of Scientology are all manned with people who are in the SEAL, and they wear the naval uniforms and so forth.
Right, and I'll give you something to photograph. Right. Okay, down with this sort of thing. Right, funded by the British government? No, I'm sorry. Why should our country fund an insidious organisation like this? This is a cult.
Later on, you'll actually see empty coaches coming and going. Oh, yeah, it's to create an appearance of busyness. About 3 years ago, we counted 55 coaches came here. The year after, we only counted 5. So either they were parking somewhere else and levitating here, or they were down on coach numbers, which I suspect is the case. The people who are attending these events can't even see it right before their eyes. They can't see that it's shrinking and dwindling, so, you know.
Do you have a possible sort of time in the next 20 years, 30 years when Scientology will sort of be basically no more?
I don't know, because the people who are still in are the die-hard, hardcore people that they don't actually believe it is a religion, but they will tell you that it is, to fool you into thinking that it is, even though it's not.
20 years is generous.
20 years is generous. It's fascinating. This is the UK headquarters, and this is the biggest annual event they hold. Yeah.
1970, when I lived here, I used to work on that little castle. It was one tower then, just one tower and about 30 meters of wall. And people from that high upwards were carrying rocks and boulders to build that castle, shoveling stuff in the mud, working day and night for £4 a week.
Is it worth going around the back, do you think, or?
What do you think? Well, we can go down there.
Just go down there?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, we can do that, yeah?
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah,
Okay.
why not?
They said their church and their grounds are open to everyone. So I take that as an open invitation.
David Miscavige introduces it and him as, this is the most dedicated Scientologist that I know. Now, you have to imagine, there's all these SEAL members sitting in that audience, hearing this. They're working 70, 80, 90 hours a week or more for Scientology. They're getting paid maybe 10, maybe 20 pounds a week if they're lucky. That rankled.
Yeah,
That
and me at the
rankled.
time, I was still a Scientologist when I heard that in 2004, and I thought, hang on, that's not right, come on. You know, how can he possibly say he's the most dedicated Scientologist he knows? I'm surprised the security hasn't appeared.
Do you think they've been following us as we've been walking down?
Well, they would have been trying to keep tabs on us.
Okay.
So I'm surprised they're not standing there ready, but I'm guessing that maybe they might think this is just a diversion. Don't.
Oh, he's going over.
It was a horrible place when I was staff, because you got to remember, when I was staff, Sea Org, I was just so tired all the time. Didn't have any money. Didn't have access to hot water to shower in half the time, so you didn't feel clean. I mean, you maybe 1-2 showers a week if you're lucky. So, and then, you know, same with trying to get your clothes laundered, all that stuff. You're just so tired, and you don't have any money. So yeah, you got and you didn't even have a lot of spare time to come out and visit the grounds. So yeah, it wasn't so nice when you're on staff. So anything that disagrees with that, you try and either ignore it or trying to find out reasons why it's not right, or it didn't happen, or there's some other reason for it.
You're trained, aren't you, to rationalise everything.
Yeah.
You know, you justify every little outness that you see, and you just have to make it right. There's a term, isn't it, cognitive dissonance,
Yeah.
where, you know, you try and hold two entirely conflicting thoughts
And you can't.
in your head at the same time.
Yeah, you can't. Human
And
beings can't do that.
It's
so.
just, yeah.
Hey, we're making a documentary about Scientology.
Pardon? Sorry, I didn't get that.
Stay off the property.
Which property? Which property? Well, how can we stay off the property if you won't tell us which property?
Stay your property.
Right, can you show us where the boundary line is?
It appeared that the same Scientologist had followed us from before.
Nice uniform, bro. Now, what does that uniform remind you of, Martin? Black uniform. Yeah. Quite smart. Designed by Hugo Boss. That's right, the SS.
The Waffen SS.
Yes, the SS uniform.
Is he leaving now, or getting a better angle?
No, we're going up here.
Well, we're not actually on the property, are we?
No, we're not.
Hey, we're making a documentary. Aren't we?
Premises. Turn it off, please.
We should turn it off.
Yeah. Don't film that, please. Turn it off.
Well, he has the right to film it. Sorry, you're making a documentary. You can see the tent there. Look at the size of it.
We've had a nice walk. That's all I came for. That's done well.
Having fun?
It was time for me to leave the protest, to process what I'd seen. Billy's speeches of what Scientology had done seem extreme, but judging by how the Sea Org reacted to the documentary, not out of the question.
But at the same time, it's been an incredibly cathartic process. It's not been bad news whatsoever. You know, the leaving process was in many ways kind of everything that I hoped the getting in process would be, if that makes sense. I'm not ashamed to say that there was a lot of tears, there was a lot of anger, a lot of the sense of betrayal is overwhelming. You know, when it finally dawns on you that everything that you've been told to believe, everything that you've invested, everything, not just the money but the time, everything that you've put your literally your heart and soul into, is based on a lie. That's not an easy thing to come to terms with. Yeah, you know, you go through this quite scary, I have to say, quite scary process of thinking that you're quite possibly chucking in and leaving forever. The one thing, and which in my case, I'd invested 28 years of my life, tens of thousands of pounds, probably over £100,000 altogether, you know, of actual money. At the inn base there, where all the crew would eat, was this place called Massacre Canyon Inn, or MCI for short. And so I was behind the bar serving drinks, and David Miscavige walks up and he says he wanted a drink. I can't remember what the drink was. I've got a feeling it was a scotch and something, you know, a whiskey and something, and some tortilla chips. Now, this is 1985, I'm English, and I'd never heard of such a thing, so I sort of rummaged around behind the bar. I knew he was quite important, although at this time he still wasn't actually in charge. He hadn't taken over the church by this time. But I rummaged around on the bar and said, "Sir, I don't think we've got any tortilla chips." And he perceived somehow that I didn't know what, you know, what I was talking about. I didn't know what they were. So he just looked me in the eye, like very intensely, but without the smile. And he just looked at me, really, you know, eyeballed me and said, "You haven't got a clue what you're fucking doing, have you?" And that was the first conversation I had with David Miscavige. The reason people stay is because they've been able to indoctrinate themselves into doing so. And a cult is kind of like a prison of belief. I think that's a really good expression. It's a prison of belief. It's the belief that keeps you in prison, nothing physical. You genuinely believe that Scientology is the only hope for mankind. The only hope for mankind. The destiny of the civilization. And every man, woman and child on it for the next endless trillions of years depend on what you do here and now in Scientology. Do you see? Yeah. That's pretty heavy duty stuff.
My time with Martin was over. I've learned a lot about what it would feel like to leave a cult like this, and how seriously Scientologists treat their beliefs.
London, England. Its history stretches back 2 millennia, and the city remains the centre of the English-speaking world. The building rises 6 stories and dates from the height of the Victorian era. But today, it's a 21st century ideal Scientology organisation in every regard.
To Anton and Charlie, I'm writing to you to request a film tour of your facility that we have previously talked about in various emails. I'm not quite sure why you stopped responding to our emails, but I would still like to sit down with you and ask some questions about your religion. Yours sincerely, Joseph Kennedy. Now, I'm going to give this letter into there to see what they say. I'm not expecting a response. Let's see if we can get an interview. Probably not. I'm here to deliver a letter. Hi, yeah, I've been talking to someone called Anton and Charlie here. Yes. About arranging an interview at some point, or some sort of tour for a documentary. Okay. Are you a Scientologist at all? Me? Yes. Yes. I've been talking to them about the practice of like disconnection, and like how hard it was for them to get out of the religions. I wonder if you have any comments on that at all.
I mean, if you go to the press office,
yeah,
they deal with all these kinds of things, and they'll be more than happy to help. If it's
the press office, okay? Because I've been trying to contact people for a while. No one seems to be really. They seem like following me off a lot.
Well, I mean, we're only interested in the story about what Scientology is, not what disgruntled ex-members.
Yeah, but I'm trying to find out what it is by sort of talking to what their experiences were.
Well, you're taking the wrong approach. You access, or you won't get someone if you're doing something like what you've explained to me already.
Well, I'm just trying to get both sides of the story, because I can't just get people who are inside and just them, and then people who are outside and just them. I'm sort of trying to get a response, basically.
Well, that's probably why you're not going to get anywhere then.
How do you mean?
That's why you won't get anywhere then.
Because
A response.
But I was talking to some people. I talked to a man called Billy Drummond who seemed to leave, and then his entire family, who were Scientologists, that they could no longer speak to him.
Ask him what he did. He wouldn't have just left. He would have then done something which would have put him in a certain category where his family decided they no longer wanted to be connected to him.
Okay.
That's their choice.
So you're saying if someone wants to leave the church, they can, that's fine. That's completely fine.
Yeah.
So there's no indoctrination at all into that sort of thing. It's completely free will.
Indoctrinate.
You don't indoctrinate, okay.
No, the point of Scientology is to increase someone's ability, awareness, so that
Yeah.
they can be more independent to survive in life and do their own life, not the opposite.
With orbiting and things like that,
Correct.
yeah. With the e-meters. So is that completely scientific and that works, where people put their hands and they sort of measure the things? Okay. Well, like this guy, Martin Padfield, he was in like effectively a labor camp in LA, sort of building a new facility for them. And he had to work sort of, you know, massive long days and not be paid.
What did he do?
Typically 10, 12 hours a day, hard physical labour. You have to wear black boiler suits so that all the other SEAL members can identify you as, you know, you've screwed up. You're on this program. And this is a brutal program. This is really to kind of break you, really. It's a punishment program. It's all, you know, in any other context.
He's given like 100,000 to the religion. Don't know. Okay. Is this common to give a lot of money to the church at all, or?
If someone wants to, they can.
Okay, but.
If someone doesn't want to, they don't have to.
But isn't that a way to forward yourself in the church? Like, sort of to get onto higher levels, you have to give more money. No. No?
A bit more investigative in your research.
Okay. You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, you've been spun a complete yarn.
Have I?
Yeah.
So yeah, I went inside. I'm not quite sure what I think about him. He seems a bit. I'm not quite sure if he's indoctrinated or. Yeah. I was actually taught to a Scientologist, which was, yeah. Oh.
It took me a while to fully understand what I'd heard. Listening closely to his words really brings out the dark side of Scientology that I needed to see for myself. He didn't really seem to deny the punishment or disconnection, but instead asking, what did they do? I've learned a lot on this journey, going from knowing the tabloid Scientology of Tom Cruise to now knowing the full extent of what Scientology is capable of doing to people. Under the ridiculous beliefs and headlines lies something quite sinister underneath. Worst of all, real people are forever affected by this cult.
We've all suffered at the hands of this cult. But it's not vengeance. This is not about revenge. Shit, believe me, I'd rather go home and have time with my kids and my wife, you know, than do this. I've got a life. I've got a family.
But sometimes something surprising can happen.
But if you can sort of come out the other end of that relatively unscathed, and whether I have or not, you know, you'd have to ask my wife and people that know me better if I've come out unscathed or not. But if you can and you do, it can be liberating, cathartic, strengthening, kind of all the things that I hoped Scientology was going to be.